Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Okay. Well, so you up for going back in, trying again, and seeing what we discovered today?
Yeah, and I want to try to find the balance between I do have something I want to get to eventually, and so a target for change, but also that let's just kind of meet it wherever it is as best we can.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
So last time we came into contact with a part of me that goes blank, and I was frustrated with that because I saw it as an impediment to doing the work that I want to do, and it is an impediment. But it also the kind of homework was to just orient myself towards what that part's doing and what it's about. And I was really able to kind of appreciate a lot of places where it comes in that I wasn't necessarily seeing it before, and seeing how sometimes it is helping me not get overwhelmed. And then sometimes it seems pretty clear that part of its job is to keep me from reactivity, keep me from reacting in ways that could damage a relationship. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes, obviously, something more powerful overrides it, but it's doing its damnedest to keep the reactive part of me from damaging my relationships. And also, it's not a pleasant feeling, that thing.
Yeah.
And so,
it wants to keep you from reacting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of appreciating it, but also really seeing how, okay, I just keep hitting that wall again and again in therapy where I really want to turn towards that reactive part. And then this kind of blank one won't let me do it intentionally. It comes up. It even happened in our session between us. It happened at the end. It came in on its own.
Right. I remember.
Yeah.
Would you be up for 1 minute of quiet meditation just before we continue?
I think I need help. I know that meditation is not necessarily meant to have purpose. You're just going to be present with whatever arises. But I think I need some sense of direction for that minute.
All right. Well, don't meditate then. Just breathe for 1 minute.
Okay. We'll do that.
Okay. Is that fair enough? Great.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll set a timer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I need that.
Okay.
Anyway, you can continue where you were, or if you want me to ask you questions about following up with those parts, or where you'd like to go next.
Yeah. I don't know. Like what happened during that breathing period is such a parade of parts that it actually just muddies the water. It makes it really hard for me to identify my path forward. It's like I was very aware of wanting to know, like some part of me really wanting to know what that minute is for.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is this for?
Yeah, sure.
And already like preemptively protective, like defensive, like I'm supposed to use it. I'm supposed to just lots of assumptions about it and negativity. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. Can you maybe be in the waiting room while we just breathe? Just breathe. God.
Yeah, but it's a fair question. I mean, I have my own kind of skepticism if someone's telling me what to do or telling me how to breathe or how to feel or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely is a defensive thing about like, am I allowed to, like, I'm supposed to be a certain kind of way.
Right.
And I think that is relevant to the place I want to go, where I wanted to go to last session too, where I'm trying so hard all the time to be the right kind of way.
Yeah.
And then there's this moment where I feel like despite those efforts, I'm failing or that I'm being set up to fail is really like that one is really the thing that has been setting it off lately, where I'm trying so hard to be the right way and I feel like I'm being set up to fail. And then there's this explosion of panic and defensiveness that I struggle to contain. And, in a professional setting, that's really problematic.
Okay. Do you have an intuition about which of those parts to go to first? Or if I was going to suggest one, it would be the part that has the feeling of being a certain kind of way.
Yeah, we can start there. I mean, we can start there. I'll say this, I feel like, and I think I tried to touch on this in our last session, I feel like oftentimes I am pushing past that reactive part to the vulnerable one, the one who's hurting.
Right.
And it feels a little bit like that. It feels like, okay, there's someone in there. I mean, I get that it's a manager trying to be a certain kind of way, but it's also someone who's just in a lot of pain and very, like it's easier to like that part. The
vulnerable part?
Yeah, and be compassionate. Oh, there's someone here who's just trying so hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the one who's like exploding constantly gets kind of bypassed to go to the parts that are easier to have compassion for, And so I don't, there's a lot of blocks to going towards the one who's reactive, but I don't want it. I just want to stop pushing past that one. It's like, that one's clearly in a lot of pain.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you're intuiting that. And I agree. If there's any parts that have concern about going straight for it, I think we should respect that. I'm curious if the part who feels like you should be a certain kind of way, is that the same as the reactive part?
No, one is, so I feel like the one who's always trying to be the right way is a manager, and then the explosion is a firefighter when it hasn't worked, when I failed and I feel, and there's a sense that I was failure was inevitable, not because of me, because the circumstances or the other people. So it's one's a manager, one's a firefighter. So I think they're different.
Yes,
so they're very closely linked,
Right. Okay. So that part of you that feels like you should be a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
What is that like in you? How does it show up? What's it feel like in or around your body?
It's just kind of effortful and kind of externally focused, like very much about like reading the signals and responding. And there's I don't know if it's the same part or a different one that's just like part of the whole process where you have to figure out, what the right way to be is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then I have to so there's like one that reads the signals, and then there's one who figures it out, and then there's like the doing. There's a lot involved in all that. Yeah. And I don't know how many parts there are.
Might be able to find out. How are you feeling towards this part that's effortful and focused externally? Just right now as you notice it.
I mean, I wish I didn't have to try so hard. I wish there could be more ease and acceptance, more of a sense of okayness, the way I am or the way it is. I wish all these parts could relax a little bit.
Okay, so you want that for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about getting to know it now?
I just hear the one who's reactive getting really frustrated that again, we're going towards the ones that are easy to be compassionate towards. And this one just
great.
Nobody wants to talk to it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with this because it's so, fucking explosive and it's not pretty. It's not pretty like these other parts who are trying so hard to be pretty.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've perfectly mapped it out where it sounds to me like a manager, a firefighter. You're absolutely right that the firefighter is usually the less socially acceptable one. It's the one we're ashamed of or we hide more of. And I think that's a great map. We don't have to go to this other part first, but it does make sense to me to meet both of these protectors.
Yeah, it's just that I've already spent some time with the ones who try so hard to be the right way, and the ones that's protecting who feel unworthy or feel toxic. I mean, you're meeting me somewhat along in my process, right? And I've done.
Yes.
I go to therapy and I try to help the ones that are hurting. And the one that just never really actually gets my attention because I can't seem to access it on purpose in front of people is that reactive one. It's like, I can feel the pain of I need help too,
Yeah. Okay. Well, would you like to focus on that one then?
Yeah, I want to try. I get that it might not be easy.
And is that okay with the managerial part, the part that always feels like you should be a certain way? Is it okay with that part if we focus on this firefighter?
That part would really like us to, because part of what that one ends up doing is cleaning up the messes of the other one, right? It goes circles back around. Mm-hmm. It's if you could help that one out, that would make my job a lot easier.
Yeah. So this reactivity that shows up, you're calling it a firefighter. It shows up sometimes in relationships. It shows up when you feel like you can't be the certain way, or you've been overwhelmed in that regard.
No, I've done all the things. I have not only tried so hard, but I have done all the things. And still somehow you're telling me it's not good enough, I'm failing, and you're not appreciating how you are getting in the way of that or how circumstances, it's not my fault, right?
Yes, yes.
That's the feeling is It's not my fault.
Yeah. What does it feel like? What does it feel like in your body?
Definitely feel my heart kind of racing.
Yeah.
And like there's, yeah, go ahead.
Last time I remember there was some kind of guttural, there was some
growling
about it, right? Same part?
Yes, in part.
Great.
And like
Great.
this clenched and like, tightness in my face, like,
yes.
Like everything is like, like, no, like, and I just want to like grab whoever it is that's kind of quote unquote, making me feel this way and like shake them and like, don't you fucking see, that like I'm doing everything.
Yes, you're working very hard. Okay. And right now, how are you feeling towards that part?
I feel a lot of compassion for it. Like, I get it. It's really frustrating.
Yes.
It's really frustrating to feel like you're being set up to fail and then blamed for that or told you're not good enough.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating.
Can you show it that compassion? Is it able to receive that from you now? Just show it that you see how hard that is and what a tough spot that it's in, and it's been in for a long time.
I have this sense that it's still kind of looking past me, out here. There's definitely more of a relationship than there was last time, right? Like the blankness is not coming in.
That's great.
I've been trying to communicate this part for the last several weeks, but it doesn't seem to care what I think.
Okay. Well, we want to know what it thinks. So let it know that our goal is to find out more about how it thinks and how it feels. So let it know that you're curious about that.
Yeah, it just needs everyone out here to get it. All y'all need to fucking get it and see. And like, yeah, that's nice that like you're getting it, but it doesn't matter in the world, it doesn't matter out here where it matters.
Yeah. And does that part really feel like you get it? Just ask it.
Sort of.
Yeah. Would you be okay with just spending a little more time with that and just making sure that you get it, making sure that it feels that we hear anything else from it so that it at least knows that you get it?
Yeah, and I'm kind of asking like, what am I still not getting? And then I feel a little bit of that blankness coming in. It's like the sense that if it goes all the way there, then that's too much,
Yeah. Yeah. Just, you could ask it, to be respectful of that, to just be careful not to overwhelm you. Let it know that you want to understand it really well so that you can help it. And just ask it to try to show you what it needs to show you in bits and pieces and in a way that's not going to overwhelm you.
It's just the feeling like it's trying to kind of titrate the feeling, but it's like trying to connect with me about it. And it's just such a deep pain.
Are you okay with witnessing the pain that it's showing you right now? In the degree that it is?
There's definitely like a self-conscious part that comes in that is kind of afraid of like feeling the full force of it, with you being recorded.
Yeah. And I'll remind you and any other parts that nothing has to be shared. It doesn't need to be shared publicly. It also doesn't need to be shared out loud to me. So you don't really have to answer my questions. If you're in self energy, you're doing the healing work. So I'm just offering some questions as a.
No, I know it's not about
prompt.
answering the questions. It's like, I feel like if I let myself feel the full force of the pain of this part, I'm just going to roar into this phone. Like it's just gonna be.
So just ask it not to give it to you all at once like that. You might even imagine kind of seeing it in another room, and you're outside looking through the window.
You know, James, I'm not that visual. Like it really, and especially this part, it's just very somatic. It's just feelings. It's just a lot of feelings.
Okay.
So I can't really access it that way. It really is just like a felt.
Sure.
It's, it's kind of, I don't know if it's pre-verbal, but it's not, it's just body.
But it has been showing you some of this pain, and up to this point, have you felt okay with receiving what it's showing you?
I'm okay with what I'm currently feeling, but I am aware that if it gives me any more, it's like more than I want to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not necessarily feel, but reveal.
Okay. Well, if you are okay with feeling it but not revealing it, I mean, you can push mute. You can hang up if you want. If this part has something it wants to show you, and if you're feeling curious and feel like that witnessing work is important, really, you can do that in your own privacy wherever you are.
Maybe we could try that. I don't know.
Just trust your intuition on if that feels right. And if it feels right for the part.
Like I was interested in trying that, but now I feel a little disconnect. And now the part that that I'm not being getting this right, doing this right, being the right kind of way,
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Connecting back to the beginning of this
space.
Yeah.
I have a question for this part that's angry.
Good. Yeah. Connect me back with that.
What's it afraid would happen if it didn't work so hard? You said it needs everyone to get it. What would be so bad about people not getting it?
Well, then when they don't get it, I end up alone.
Right.
And that comes a little bit from a heady, like a thinky part. I kind of know this about this. Mm-hmm. Maybe not quite so much from the part itself, but I do have a knowledge that what ends up happening when others don't get it is that I'm alone.
Yeah.
But I also know that this part has a sense that what other people need me to do is disappear completely. And it's pushing back on that. No, there's only so far I can go.
Right. So it's keeping you from being alone in two ways. One, by not having you disappear, and the other is by making sure that they get it. They get how hard you've worked, or they get that whatever you need them to get.
Yeah, I get why, it seems like both of those things may have to do with aloneness, but one is just about pure existence, just exist, fighting to exist at all. And then the other one is, but don't leave me, right?
Right.
I'm afraid that if I exist, you'll leave,
Yeah, it sounds really hard. This part has a very difficult job. So see if you can just let it know that you see that difficulty and you appreciate its intention, even if you don't love the impact that it has.
I get the rock in the hard place, right? It's like, if it feels like a choice between existing and being alone,
Mm-hmm.
those are shit choices.
Those are shit choices.
I have to like not barely exist, then I won't be alone.
Yeah.
Or I have to fight to exist, but then I'll probably end up alone. But it's like, you're telling me that I'm not trying, or you're telling me that I'm not getting it right. And like, all I've been doing is trying to.
Yeah. To protect from not existing or for being alone.
Yeah, to put aside however I might be feeling to show up for you in whatever way that will keep me from being alone. But I can only put myself aside so much, you know. So I can't do anymore.
Yeah, so let the part know that you see how those other parts have been beating it up, those other parts that have been, saying that it's not getting it right. You see how that's been. You see the rock in the hard place that it's been trying to protect you from. And just see if you can show some appreciation
I just get
for its
why
intention.
It explodes. I just get why it explodes in just total frustration of like, I can't do any more than I'm doing.
Yes. And does it know that you get it? Does it feel like you get it? Does it feel understood by you?
I think I'm just too blended with it to get that answer.
Okay.
But it knows like I'm trying it on, like it knows I'm trying it on and I'm feeling it. So I guess it does know I'm getting it.
Good. Yeah, and again with the blending, I mean, you can just ask it to not blend with you. You can just let it know that you want to kind of speak to it face to face, even if not visually, but that's the best way for you to communicate with it. And to learn from it.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. It's like I have to feel it enough to get it, but then I get a little blended. So then it needs to back off a little bit, but then I'm not getting it, because part of getting it is getting the intensity of how much it feels.
Yeah, and that might be perfect. I mean, it might be the perfect medicine, the perfect progress is you're learning to navigate and negotiate with this part.
Yeah.
And you're building trust with it by letting it show you what it needs to show you without just letting it completely overtake you.
Finding a little balance, the sweet spot of connection to it.
Yeah, and that was the goal, right? You wanted to get to know this part and to find some balance with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does feel like not as, like there is a little bit more middle ground where any attempts to connect with this in the past have been either like total flooding or the blankness coming in and keeping me from connecting at all. So it definitely feels like we're doing a dance right now, a little bit at least, in the middle.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, that feels like progress.
I'll ask again, can you show it compassion? Can you show it appreciation for its intention in keeping you safe?
I guess I want to clarify just for you, the part of me that needs you to understand. I don't think there's an intention to keep me safe as much as like what I am appreciating about this part is how it just can't help but feel the way it does in that moment. Like I guess it's got intention to keep me safe in that it's fighting for my existence.
Well, yeah, it thinks you're going to not exist, right?
It's fighting to be seen and it's fighting to exist. And so, yeah, in that way. But like, it just kind of, there's an objection to the idea of intentionality because it just feels the way it feels. Like it's just a reaction. It's total reactivity.
Okay.
And what I'm appreciating is, of course, it feels that way. Like, yeah, I totally get why it would feel that way and why it would react that way when it feels that way.
Yeah. And maybe it needed to at some point in your life or still today it could, right? That's typically where these parts, they get their jobs from somewhere. And so even if that's not something that you're seeing right now.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing to connect with about it. I think that's part of where other parts get frustrated, right? Is that like...
It doesn't know where this comes from.
Doesn't know how it was ever helpful. It just feels like a reaction. Like it just feels like an understandable human reaction, but it doesn't feel purposeful in the sense that it ever worked. Like that it ever actually had the effect that it wanted to have, except that I guess, what occurs to me, maybe this is the answer, is that it does like get people to back the fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's like, in this place where it feels like I'm being, pushed into a corner in a way, emotionally. Mm-hmm. Like it gets distance. Like it is socially, it is, it's ugly, it's unacceptable, it turns people off and they back off when it happens. Back off. Right. And I guess in that sense,
can be very useful.
Yeah. In that sense, other parts of me hate that it causes that, right? Like I hate that I'm...
Sure.
Because it results in that loneliness and that shame.
Right.
But just in the moment, it's
in
like...
that moment, it's doing a valuable job. So see if you can just thank it for its service.
Right. Like I get that in that moment, you just need everyone to back off. Mm-hmm. Leave you be. Mm-hmm. Step back. Yeah, it does make sense because in that moment, I just can't try any harder than I have been. So I just need you to let me be. And yeah, I want you to get it. Like I want you to see everything I've been doing and get it and get why I'm stuck and get why I'm failing or whatever. But like also I need it to stop. Just
right.
That I need the whole like trying to be whatever it is you need from me to stop.
Right. It does that.
Yeah. Nobody wants to need anything from me when I do that thing. They just want to get away.
It sounds like it's been very helpful at times.
Well, for the moment.
Sure.
For that moment.
Sure. Again, I think our goal is just to appreciate the intention, and show it that.
hopefully appreciating something about it.
That's great. You're doing great. What would this part rather be doing with its energy inside of you if it didn't have to work so hard?
Yeah, I mean, like it's an expansive, like the explosion. I don't know what they're called. They're that toy, like lots of little colorful pieces of plastic that are
yes, it's
that
a
are
little
put
ball
together,
and you pull it open and it's the giant
and it
ball.
totally yeah, that you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like what ends up happening in this moment is that it goes from that tiny little ball to just, you know, like total explosion, supernova, but it wants to just be expanding. Like it just wants to let me be expansive, right? Creative, assertive, exploratory, expressive, you know, that.
Yeah, it's got a lot of passion.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Passion, energy, creativity, interest, engagement, and expression of self, like just all that stuff. And it never gets to do it except in this moment of fighting for that last gasp of breath of like, I can't make it smaller. Like this is as small as it gets. So, you know, it only does that to push back out, you know, but it wants to just be doing that, like being expansive.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I want that. I miss that.
Yeah. How old does this part think that you are?
The number that came up was 6. Which does kind of make sense in a way.
Does it?
Yeah.
A lot going on or something specific at that age?
Yeah, just experiences of that expansiveness not landing well with others.
And what happens when you update it with your real age?
I can't reach it with that. I don't have. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? Has anybody ever said that to you when you've asked them that question? I
don't think so.
Yeah, nobody said that to me before either. So I'm not sure what that is, but like I can't, when I try to, like it doesn't care. It just doesn't care that I'm almost 50.
Okay. But it's aware. Maybe you're saying like it doesn't see how that matters, or you said it doesn't care.
Yeah, it feels even more actively pushing away than it doesn't see how it matters. It's almost like doesn't want to let that in. Like, I think there's a lot of grief. I think like if I were to really, I think if this part were to accept it, 44 years? There's just a lot of pain and grief associated with it. It's hard to let in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, don't tell me that.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
If the war is over and it's still fighting for reasons that aren't relevant anymore, then that is a lot to be sad about.
It's more like just the recognition of 44 years of not being allowed to expand and not being allowed to express, not being allowed to be, and like it's just it's a long life of not living.
Yeah. And that's what you want to help it with. You want to help it have that role of expanding.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of points to the one who's just really afraid of that and is hurting about how that seems to be hurtful to others or.
Right.
Obviously there's an exile here.
Mm.
And then the whole manager of that won't kind of let me, that's busy, all the stuff that we were talking about before, the whole process of making that small so that I can read the signals out here and figure out how to be right and do that, which requires squelching that other thing to make room for all that,
Yeah. They're both working towards keeping you from being alone or wiped out of existence.
Right. Yeah.
And that's that ultimate fear of the exile.
Yeah, that it's one or the other.
Right. And so can you make this part aware, this part that's been angry, can you let it know that that's your intention, is to unburden all of the parts, but especially these exile parts, so that it doesn't have to work so hard. It doesn't have to work so hard protecting and pushing that away.
There's some kind of block. It's the same objection of I don't want to hear about how you want to show up for other parts. And it occurs to me that this is the essence of this part, right? It's fighting to exist. So it's stop looking at other parts. So I don't want to hear about other parts that need your help. Look at me in pain. Look at me fighting for your existence. Look, help me. And it's I'm just here for you right now. I'm not actually, it doesn't seem right to talk about other parts right now. It's nope, I'm just here for you.
That's great. Yeah, go with that.
Yeah, it's all about you. You don't have to worry about anybody else right now. Just you fighting to exist.
Right.
And wishing you didn't have to fight. That you could just be allowed to. And I want that.
And how does it like being with you in this way?
There's definitely a relaxation of okay, you're finally getting that you just, that's what I'm asking. Right? I'm asking you to just look at me.
Yeah.
And see me existing and let me exist. There's definitely some easing up of the tension that I'm finally getting that. And I want to kind of thank the blank part for standing by and not getting in the way of that this time.
Yeah. It's been quite cooperative.
Yeah. Well, I thank you because I think, last session, I didn't really want to, or this part didn't really want to hear about me spending time with the blankness and appreciating that, but I did spend the last several weeks kind of noticing that and appreciating it, coming to understand that. And so I think that that work did help me get to a place where today I could connect more with this, and the blank thing could relax.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was uncomfortable, but something did definitely come from that work.
What else does this part want from you or need from you going forward? It said, about having that attention, having you attend to it in that way. Are there specifics around that or something more that it needs or wants from you going forward?
No, I think it's just that. And it's interesting. Like I think you posted, I think this is one of the things that you've posted, one of the sessions that another therapist who does this work has been doing. And like, they seem to have a kind of regular practice of asking clients to just visit with a part for the next 3 weeks. Like 21 days seems to be like a meaningful in some way. I think this part is saying, that's it. Like me for 21 days, like you and me, no other parts.
What do you think about that? What's your reaction to that?
Yeah. All right. Okay. I mean, I'm definitely more open to it than I would have been before. It feels more comfortable. Yes. Like, okay, it could just be you and me.
Yes. And thanks to that part that part of you that can get so frustrated about, oh, how long is this all going to take, right? And oh, there's so many parts, like that comes up. I mean, that's come up in our conversations. It comes up in me, and just having that part be able to relax and say, you can see how this heals. You can see how these parts need this, and in the grand scheme of things, if it's been 44 years, right? What's a few weeks to come to know a part like that has so much power?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just would have been really uncomfortable to think about spending 3 weeks connecting with this, because it's always been kind of miserable and damaging and scary and unpleasant, and no, I'm not interested in turning towards this part for 3 weeks straight. That would not have been a attractive prospect.
Right.
But sure. I think we're feeling more chummy. There's more of a chummy feeling. Yeah, all right.
That's so cool.
3 weeks, sure. Well, it's just you and me. You fighting for my existence.
Yeah, you want to understand that, really understand it, and where it came from, and what that experience has been like for it, how it shows up. Just as much as you can, just understanding it.
Yeah, just seeing it for what it is. And not from the thinky parts, because I've had this insight for a long time. It's not like anything new is coming up. It's just that I'm connecting with it.
Yes.
Which is the great thing about this model, because, those of us who get really stuck in thinky parts doing that work, and we just end up keeping it all at a distance, not getting anywhere.
Right.
So
does that feel like a place to come to an end here, or is there other parts that have questions, concerns?
Oh, we're not listening to anybody else right now.
Okay, awesome.
There's nobody else that matters in the world.
All right.
This one.
Well, we can add me to that list. I'll jump off and you can go be with this part. It sounds like you're doing great work.
All right, James.
I hope to hear from you again.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Okay, have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.